Hello and welcome to Bacan, an English language podcast about my Spanish language adventure in Chile. For this episode, I'm doing something a little different. I'm not going anywhere this time. You're going to go somewhere with me instead. We're going to share a meal, we're going to visit the Bimbo bread store in the corner, and we're going to dance up and down the wide wine aisles at the local supermarket. Just call me Anthony Bourdain. This is all about Chilean food and drink. To get us going, I reached out to my program coordinator, Rodrigo, who was the first Chilean I met in Chile. Rodrigo is the vice principal of an elementary school, and you'll notice when he speaks that he kind of sounds like John Lennon. Not only are the Beatles his favorite band, but when he was growing up, he exclusively listened to their interviews from the 60s in order to learn English. I love that story. Unfortunately, the sound quality of our interview was severely mangled by its proximity to recess time at the school where he works. But anyways, he and his girlfriend, Maca, have been great sources of information and support. In fact, they introduced my group and I to our first experience with chorianas, a dish made of french fries, meat, and onions, all topped with a fried egg. As Rodrigo told me, you can divide Chilean food into two phases, traditional and contemporary. Examples of traditional dishes are soups like cazuela and carbonara and porotos granados, which rely heavily on legumes, beef, and what people in the States might consider winter vegetables. Well, we are in autumn here. As time passes, you'll find different, perhaps more substantial offerings. There's the pastel de choclo, which is composed of 2 layers, 1 meat, 1 corn. Then you never know what else you'll find inside. There's the famed empanada, fried or bake, which also appears. Seafood is huge because we're on the coast, duh. And that brings you to sushi too, which is well loved by Chileans. This specific development Rodrigo attributes to a growing migrant population in the country, which tends to be a controversial subject for Chileans. From where I see it, there's a lot of love for the new types of food emerging, but not a whole lot of love for the people and cultures from which they came. Rodrigo was a wonderful source of positivity on this front, insisting that multiculturalism is good for the country and for its people.
Las forestales, 3, y así. Así es lo que pasa en Chile. Esa es nuestra realidad. Lo invito a que la veamos y que nos demos cuenta que no nos sirve.
Even though we aren't following Neruda's footsteps exactly this episode, the guy still had to eat, and he had a lot to say about it when he did. During his time in university, living in Santiago, Neruda was a self-described introvert, sulking around the city in all black with his books. Yet in his memoirs, he explains how he still managed to participate in student life, which he described in purely liquid terms: tea during the day and beer at night. I don't have a lot to say about the beer here. I found some good microbreweries, and a strong German influence ensures that the supermarket is stocked with lots of options. I could buy Budweiser or Coors Light any day of the week. The cheap Chilean macrobrewery beers, though, like Escudo and Cristal, get the job done for under $5 a shop, but I won't be craving them for years to come. Means to an end, you know? Liquor, though, is a point of pride for Chileans when it comes to pisco. The famous pisco sour served in a champagne glass is pisco, sugar, and lemon juice. That's it. To be sure, it is tasty and often strong, but a pisco is a funny sort of flavor, and its distribution kind of baffles me. My friend Nora and I took a trip to the Elqui Valley a few weekends ago, and the best part was a bike tour around small vineyard villages. We made one stop at a pisco distillery and got the 411 on the liquor. What stood out the most to me was this figure. Every year, Chile has a domestic demand for 5 million cases of pisco. But they only export 30,000 cases out to the rest of the world. Pisco has a distinct flavor, so its use here is limited to the single sour cocktail, which is on the more expensive side of the spectrum, and a cheap party piscola, which is exactly what it sounds like. As for tea, I remember reading in Neruda's memoirs, in Chile we drink tea 4 times a day, and we can't grow it. End quote. He was citing tea as the primary impetus for diplomacy. Why did Chile have such an extensive diplomatic reach so early in the 20th century, far greater than that of its peers? He said it all came down to this high demand for tea. And Neruda would know. He served as a diplomat off and on for the duration of his long life. They say never meet your heroes, so maybe coming here was a bad idea because they do not drink tea 4 times a day. Not anymore, at least. Not my family, at least, or any of the other host families I know. Why bother when you can hop in the nearest OK Market and buy a specialty Arizona tea straight from the US of A? It's kind of weird. Lipton rules the land now, but there are places where you can get local varieties. Or there's the sweet guy in the corner selling clusters of herbs out of his bag for 500. One of my favorite Neruda quotes of all time says, "The closest thing to poetry is a loaf of bread, or a ceramic dish, or a piece of wood lovingly carved, even if by clumsy hands." Here's poem 78 from 100 Love Sonnets, read by my friend Ivan.
Today is today, with the weight of all past time, with the wings of all that will be tomorrow. Today is the south of the sea, water's old age, the composition of a new day. The petals of a finished day collected on your mouth, lifted to the light or to the moon, and yesterday comes trotting down its darkening path, so we can remember the face of yours that died. Today, yesterday, and tomorrow pass, swallowed up, consumed in one day like a burning calf. Our cattle wait with their days numbered. But in your heart, time sprinkled its flower. My love built an oven of Temuco clay. You are my soul's daily bread.
Speaking of bread, this is the most crucial part of the Chilean diet. For the first 4 days, I ate basically nothing but bread, and nothing's really changed. My first Monday in Chile, this is literally what I had. A loaf of crunchy soft bread about twice the size of my hand for breakfast, a cheese empanada for lunch, a croissant with butter as a snack, and then dinner was a variety of condiments topped on, you guessed it, 3 different types of bread. It doesn't stop at 3. But there is a basic trio of offerings one could naturally expect to find at any Chilean store. There's jayuya, circular and dense, good for sandwiches when fresh. Then there's pan integral, or whole wheat bread, usually found in little squares. Third, my personal favorite, is the famed marraqueta. A fourth one we get on special occasions is pan italiano, which just resembles a good baguette. Okay, but back to the marraqueta, which my host mom refers to as the healthy one. She says that because it's traditionally made up of nothing but flour, water, yeast, and salt. In the end, it's separated into 4 soft rolls you can just tear off and toss in the toaster. 70% of the bread consumed here is marraqueta, and that's a big deal, considering Chile is the second highest consumer of bread in the whole dang world. In small panaderias and industrial bakeries around the country, the work starts early and lasts all day. My family purchases from the Bimbo down the road, a little licensed store that looks like a German cottage but only sells soda, ice cream, candy, and bread. It's truly hypnotic to watch the process. The careful rolling of dough, the separation into 4 little dollops, 100 grams apiece. The ready freshness of the bread will be what I miss the most when I return, and I hold that sentiment in my heart whenever I consider whether or not I should have my 5th piece of bread for the day. But what happens when you can't eat bread, or there are other restrictions on your diet? I have a bud who is gluten intolerant, which I truly feel for, and another friend of mine is a vegan. Her name is Vic.
So my name is Victoria Ozadowski. I live in New York. I study in Geneseo, which is a small school upstate New York, about 7 hours from where I live. I study international relations, and it's really interesting to be in Chile right now, studying that. I've been a vegan for about 1.5 years, but I haven't eaten dairy for about 6 years, so I'm pretty used to that because I'm pretty allergic to dairy. I was definitely willing to be flexible. In one of my emails that I sent to the person in charge of my program, I actually told him that I was a little bit concerned because I didn't want the family to think I was being rude by not being able to eat their food, or the food that they were used to preparing. I also don't my Spanish isn't incredible. It's definitely improved since I've been here, but I made it clear to him that I didn't want them to think I was being rude if I couldn't fully explain why I couldn't eat certain things. So that was something that I was a little nervous about.
In Chile, there are only about 13,000 vegetarians and vegans, according to a study from 2013.
Well, they definitely eat a lot of more bread than I'm used to here, but generally I either have a fruit for breakfast, banana or apple, or sometimes we'll have some bread with tomatoes or with jam or with avocado, which I'm used to more so doing bread later in the day, but I mean, I'm not complaining. I like my bread. And then for lunch, generally lunch is the bigger meal here, so for that meal I'll generally either have lentils, lentil soup, or some vegetables with rice, or a salad. And my family isn't big on doing dinner or taking onse. Sometimes we do it, but generally I just have a snack at night, or maybe a little bit of the leftovers, or one of the other options, but a smaller portion of that.
For the record, this sounds a lot like what I eat every day too, with my host family. If there is meat, you'll usually only find it during lunch.
Yeah, I definitely have been enjoying a lot of the meals that I've been eating with more fresh vegetables, and instead of just doing, let's say, using my tempeh or tofu or seitan for protein, I've been enjoying the lentil-based or bean-based dishes that I do with some more fresh vegetables. So I'm definitely going to try and switch to a less processed diet when I get back, especially since I feel like it's sitting better with my stomach, honestly.
Luckily for Vic, and the rest of us, markets and stands have a fun variety of seasonal fruits to snack on. We're lucky to be able to purchase avocados, the size of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's hands, and peel back the juicy, dangerous flesh of a prickly pear. But that's not to say that there aren't serious problems here regarding access to healthy food. It would be irresponsible to present only the utopian good, which my privilege allows me to view on a daily basis, without looking at the dystopian bad. Beside the plentiful fruit stands around the corner from my university also sit convenience stores chock full of packaged goods. On my commute yesterday, I was offered 2-for-1 Super Ochos, which are similar to thin Kit Kats, from immigrant vendors at least 3 times. The Super Ocho has been a Chilean corner kiosk staple for 30 years, and according to Nestle, the candy company churns out 9 million units per month. Only within the past 5 years, though, has concern over the general public's health emerged as an important topic in Chilean news and politics. The near universal availability of snacks and candies, similar to the beloved Super Ocho, caused the government to take certain precautionary steps against childhood obesity, starting with the Ley de Alimentos in 2015. This requires manufacturers to mark packages with little black stop signs that tell you your food is high in calories, high in saturated fats, high in sugar, high in sodium. Some products will have just one of these warning labels, but usually you'll find a combination of 2 or more. Snack selling kiosks in elementary and middle schools are also now prohibited, as the issue disproportionately affects children. Half of Chilean kids are medically considered overweight. The issue in Chile is not malnutrition, but obesity, as leading nutritionist Samuel Duran says. Duran is not afraid to get political either. Quote, health analysts explain that the increase in the incidence of chronic diseases is due, above all, to the political change produced since the 1980s, when our country began to grow within a capitalist economic framework, he said, right before live streaming himself getting a hammer and sickle tattoo. Okay, that last part isn't true. In the country, or campo, things are different, my host dad tells me. Eating more wild meat, like rabbits and birds, is common, while access to the same kinds of manufactured goods isn't always a given. In smaller Chilean towns, small stores will buy in bulk from the cities and resell back at home. Artisanal handmade products obviously are not required to have any sort of labeling or warning signs, and street food in cities big and small is unregulated as well. You could easily purchase an empanada on any bustling corner of Valparaiso for less than 1,000 pesos, where they fry it right in front of you and the sign is made out of cardboard. Or you could patron a full-fledged, fancy empanada restaurant for double the price in Viña. Prices are relatively stable, but you get the sense that most things could be negotiated, and you could find more bang for your buck if you just poke around a little. What is your name?
I said I'm Jared.
Okay, we're gonna start. Take 5.
Okay.
Take 5. What's your name?
I'm Jared.
What's my name?
You're India.
Where are you from?
I'm from Pennsylvania.
Where do you go to school?
I go to school at Arcadia University.
What are you doing in Chile?
I am studying abroad here, and I also did work here as a volunteer.
When did you come?
I arrived in August of 2017. It was cold and a little rainy.
Oh yeah, because the seasons are
Opposite.
opposite.
Yes.
Wow, we complete each other's
I
sentences.
know, right? We're so amazing. No wonder your mom thinks we're a couple.
That's right, everyone. We're not a couple. But what did we just do?
We were hanging out along the coast because we study on the coast, and there were sea lions, and we had lunch on the rocks. It was very romantic as friends.
Yes. What did I eat?
You ate potatoes and chicken, and I ate an empanada, which is a staple here, and I love it.
Yeah, you love empanadas.
I really do. I eat one almost every other day.
What's your favorite flavor?
I mean, like, the classic is Pinot, but I don't like hard-boiled eggs, so I always get
What's Pinot?
Pinot. It's an empanada with ground meat, hard-boiled eggs, and olives, but I don't like olives either. So I always go for pollo champion y crema, which is a chicken, mushroom, and cream empanada.
Those are both so weird.
Yeah, but the second one's really good.
Yeah, it's true. Very good.
It is.
What is the best meal that you've ever had in Chile?
Well, I am a sucker for choriana, which is a great, just social kind of food. I adore it. One of my best memories with it was on Christmas Eve. I was volunteering in a hostel here in Chile in the south because I decided not to go home. So, we decided to make this huge choriana amongst, travelers, coworkers, everybody who didn't have a place to be on Christmas. So we ended up buying all the food, just this huge pile of potatoes. We ended up having way too many potatoes, and we tried making a bunch of French fries. However, apparently French fries take a lot longer to cook when you don't have a deep fryer. So it ended up being like 10:30 at night before we even were almost done. By the time
Christmas Eve?
On Christmas Eve. There was plenty of wine, cider, all the great stuff. And there's just a bunch of people from all around the world. It was myself, a couple of Chileans, a guy from Australia, a girl from Argentina. We just had this group of 7 or 8 people, and we just were up until 3 a.m. eating all these French fries, wine, and everything like that. I woke up the next day and I could not eat anything more even after that entire night. It was great.
That's so beautiful.
It was pretty neat. I dig it.
Yeah. Happy Christmas.
Why, thank you.
What's the worst meal that you've had in Chile?
Well, as Chile is literally known for its fascination with avocado, I thank you for the sound effect.
You're welcome.
I hate avocado with passion. I am not on the avocado train. I do not like that it's trending right now. It is gross and its texture is awful.
Yep.
Anyhow, so my first week here, I, of course, accepted a date with this cute dude online, blah, 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 blah. And so we decided to meet at this one restaurant because he wants to take me out and experience a new part of Chile, which would be the completo.
Blech.
Which is terrible. It
so
is
bad.
Awful. It is a hot dog with a pile of avocado and then a pile of mayonnaise. Literally think of half a jar of mayonnaise on one hot dog.
Why do they love mayonnaise here so much?
Chile is right behind the United States in the largest consumption of mayonnaise in the world, although Russia beats the United States, if you guys didn't know that.
Russia beats Chile in consumption of bread, too. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah, Russians are terrifying. Is that bad to say? I'm sorry. They're beautiful.
Okay, so you're eating this completo.
Yes. with this dude, and of course he ordered the bigger size, the extra long completo. So it comes out, and I just see this big mess of bread, avocado. I couldn't even see the hot dog, so I thought it was just bread filled with avocado.
Right.
So I was dreading every moment, and so we do like a little weird salute thing where we like cheers with our completos, and he's digging and enjoying it, and I take my first bite, have to stop myself from spitting it out, and
Yeah, you gotta be nice. You gotta be respectful.
I make it through maybe a fourth of it before I admit my, hatred for the forbidden fruit. Avocado's a fruit, if you didn't know.
Hey.
Yes. So I ended up wiping it all off, which he found was completely offensive because it's probably the worst thing you can do to a Chilean.
Yeah.
But it still had been soaked into the bread, so the bread was soggy and green, so I didn't finish it. And although he had invited me, and usually it's traditional if somebody invites you out, they pay, I ended up paying just because I destroyed that completo. I tipped extra for that waiter because there was a mess going on. There was avocado and mayonnaise and soggy bread all over because I attempted to, salvage something from it, but
Right.
didn't even eat dinner that night because I just lost my appetite. It was probably the most traumatic things I've ever gone through.
One more question.
Go for it.
Have you met a Chilean that doesn't like completos, or someone studying abroad, someone in the exchange program who actually likes the completo?
I have met some study abroad students that order completos of their own free will.
Good for them.
They are brave souls.
Amen.
I don't trust them, but they are brave souls. There are very few Chileans that don't like avocado. I've met maybe one or two, I'd say at most, out of my entire time here.
Yeah.
And I think they're just as shunned as I am, if not more.
Thank you for being here today, Jared.
Thank you for having me. So much.
Familias millonarias poderosas, las forestales, 3, y así es lo que pasa en Chile, esa es nuestra realidad. Lo invito a que la veamos y que nos demos cuenta que no nos sirve. La autoeducación es clave, para que cambie por fuera las cosas hay que cambiar primero por dentro. Aportemos ese granito hacia nosotros.
Anyways, later on in his career, Pablo Neruda wrote Odas Elementales, or Fundamental Odes, a collection of poems that glorify everyday objects, especially food. They almost read like recipes themselves. They're meditations on the gastronomical acts of harvesting, creating, and savoring. There's one to the artichoke, to onion, to wine, to corn, to tuna, to salt, and to the orange. Even if the tea thing Pablo talked about wasn't exactly relevant, these materials still are. If you spent any time in Chile, you cannot see this collection of foodstuffs as random. Salt, for example. This country may not believe in any sort of spice beyond the Mapuche mercan, which is more smoky than anything, but salt is everywhere. Instead of a salt and pepper shaker on the dinner table, you will find 2 salt shakers. Empanadas are routinely offered stuffed with artichoke hearts. Don't ask me why. Wine is the basis of the Chilean export economy, $1.9 billion worth in 2016 alone. Then there's the onion, making up 1/2 of the famed ensalada chilena. The other ingredient is just tomatoes. I'm going to read now Neruda's short ode to the tomato, which I love, and I think you'll love it too. It evokes the color red. It just totally covers you in it. The street filled with tomatoes. Midday, summer. Light is halved like a tomato. Its juice runs through the streets. In December, unabated, the tomato invades the kitchen. It enters at lunchtime, takes its ease on countertops, among glasses, butter dishes, blue salt cellars. It sheds its own light, benign majesty. Unfortunately, we must murder it. The knife sinks into living flesh, red, visceral, a cool sun, profound, inexhaustible, populates the salads of Chile. Happily, it is wed to the clear onion, and to celebrate the union, we pour oil, essential child of the olive, into its halved hemispheres. Pepper adds its fragrance, salt its magnetism. It is the wedding of the day. Parsley hoists its flag. Potatoes bubble vigorously. The aroma of the roast knocks at the door. It's time, come on! And on the table at the midpoint of summer, the tomato, star of earth, recurrent and fertile star, displays its convolutions, its canals, its remarkable amplitude and abundance. No pit, no husk, no leaves or thorns. The tomato offers its gift of fiery color and cool completeness. Thanks for listening to this third episode of Bacán. I am so excited for the next episode because we're going to Patagonia. Well, I'm not going to Patagonia, but I know a bunch of people who are, and we're going to talk to one of my professors, so I'm so excited. Thanks for being on this journey. Ciao for now.